afternoon. We're back in the veg patch today. We're going to try something. These potatoes, as we said earlier, they were put into the pots, 3 in a pot, mid-February. So we're going to try knocking one out. They haven't flowered, and by all intents and purposes, they're not ready. But I got a feeling there's going to be potatoes underneath. So we're going to knock one out, and we're going to see what happens. So take out our homemade metal supports off that we make ourselves, and that's another thing we're going to go through in another video. So these have, like I said, these have been in here since the middle of February.
So these, you're saying, haven't flowered, and for the most part you should allow them to flower, and after flowering, that's when that's when you should start harvesting your potatoes. But I think there's potatoes already here. We're not after big monsters. We're after nice, small, good tasting, early new potatoes. And new potatoes, not as you buy in the store small potatoes. We're looking for new potatoes. So let's have a look. Let's see what we've got. Wow, I can already see what we've got. It's me saying we only want small potatoes. It's a little on the large side.
That's a big one. That's a good baking potato there.
Wow. Wasn't expecting something that big.
Not that big. This is what I was expecting. There's the original. Now these were just...
So you can see the difference in the skin colour.
Skin colour. These were old potatoes. These were potatoes that we grew last year that were stored indoors, and we didn't get to them early enough, and they started to shoot. So that's when I planted them. So, like I said, let's see what we've got here. I'm not going to have many. Here's another of the originals. Don't want that. And here's another of the originals. So there's some real small ones here, so they would have developed a bit more. But like I say, it's just an experiment, just to see. So yeah, there's a few more in here, not many. Some real tiddlers. They take quite a long time to mature into anything, those.
So I suppose if you're getting impatient and you just want to try a few of your own homegrown and you've got enough of them, it's worth actually digging them out. But would you recommend now, though, that leave it until after they flowered?
Nope. No, I still think there's nothing wrong with that. Just for considering these are our old seed that's been in here since middle of February. So, I mean, got to be better than buying store-bought crap that's been stored for God knows how long, has no taste. Goodness knows what preservatives they put on them to keep them. So there we have a good baking one. And then that's a meal for us both with a good baking one. So that was just off of, I think there was 3 in that one. I'm going to try another one. Let's get rid of those. Put those on the floor a minute. So that was that one. Let's try this one here. See what we got here. Oh God, I went overboard with supports on this one. Again, green as you like. And this one actually has only got 1, 2 come up in this one. So this will be another good comparison. Oh, look at that again. So there's 1, 2. There's the original. There's some nice small ones. There's another original. Oh, hello. What have we got here? A little bit green, but doesn't matter. We can cut that out. It's still edible. So, yes, we would get more if we left them. But
now we don't have to buy potatoes for the rest of the year, because we can use these straight away. And by the time we get through all of these, we'll be then getting into the later ones.
Yeah, because we still have these ones here, which are the same as we've just done.
No, they're not dying just because they're gone yellow. They're not dying. They could do with possibly a little feed, but there's no point. I'm not going to worry. And then obviously the newer ones you can see, I mean, we're going to leave those till they flower. So now we'll be self-sufficient now in potatoes all the way up to Christmas with no problems at all. And as I say, I'd sooner eat this and eat ours than eat the crap that you're buying in the stores that was harvested last year or has been imported from who knows where. Yeah, that's not bad. No, that's not bad at all. So just following up on the brassicas and onions that I did early this week actually. So brassicas are all in, obviously. These have been mulched with grass clippings. They had a couple of really good soakings. They've actually picked up already. So they're under, obviously, again, as you can see, under the hoops, underneath the bug screen. So hopefully we'll keep all the nasties out. Although we have had a little bit of damage. And I don't quite know from what, because I've come up a couple of nights now with the flashlight looking around to see what it was, and I haven't seen anything. So at the end of the day, they're not looking too bad. We're certainly not going to get any caterpillars on it. We're not going to get any butterflies in there. I'm hoping it'll keep the aphids off as well. So that's the brassicas. So we have kale, broccoli, cabbage in there. We have the runner beans and the biolotto beans in here. Now, again, they might look a little bit sad. Unfortunately, as usual, as soon as I plant them out, we get some really, really windy weather, and they get blown around quite a lot up here. I mean, they're on the net, but they still blow around. They look a little yellow, but if Julie comes in a little closer with the camera, you can see that these things are actually flying away. If you look up here at the top, you can see how they are now wrapping themselves around. And then there's more here. So these guys are actually attached themselves now. So now they've attached, they'll settle down. They're getting daily waterings. We have flowers on the celebration there. And then we have planted a seed in between every single plant as it is at the moment. So they'll be about 10 days, 2 weeks before they germinate, depending on the weather. But yeah, they'll soon pick up now. They'll color up. I will start feeding them soon. And as we're going to do a piece, we're going to shoot a video on making your own homemade fertilizer from things that you can actually grow in the garden to make your own fertilizer. So obviously one of the biggest challenges when you start putting net, any protective cover in the garden, is keeping it in place. And as we said previously, we just have water pipe over the top of bamboo canes in the ground. And to hold it down, we just stretch it fairly tight, and I get some more of the water pipe and I cut it, slit it in half, as you can see from here. So we put the end piece in, and then all I do then is just literally pop it over, and that holds everything nice, neat and tidy. And then obviously a few stones and rocks along the side, so we can still access it to get in there. And I don't know what we'd be doing, honestly. I'm hoping there'll be no weeds coming through with the grass clippings on them.
Now, we've had to do this by putting an extra piece on the end because our row was a little longer than the net. But obviously if you didn't go as long, then you could just tie the ends, couldn't you?
Yeah, just tie it down and put a stone on it. But it's nice and tidy. It stays where it's not going to blow off.
And you're saying you can water through this net?
I was surprised. I've never used it before. You can actually water straight through it, and I'll show you. Yeah, I was expecting the water to run down the net or not go through, but actually it goes through really nicely, right where you want it. So that's a bit of a bonus, because these will need watering. To me, one of the biggest disadvantages with raised beds, slightly raised bed, is they just dry out so fast compared to being straight on the ground. But obviously the grass clippings does help. So yeah, you must make sure everything's wet before you put any mulch on. So we'll give the plants a good soak, give the ground a good soak. Then you can put your mulch on, whether it's grass clippings, whether it's wood chips, whatever you fancy using, but make sure the ground is wet first.
Onions and beetroot, again, they look a little off color, but I mean, they've just been planted out. We had 2 or 3 really windy days. They got blown around a little bit. It's now warmed up. I've watered them a couple of times. I will give them another soak this evening. And then once I know they're well watered in, I will then get some more grass clippings on these as well. No need to net this stuff. Nothing's going to bother your onions or your beetroot. You might have a few holes in your beetroot, but they'll deal with that. So we don't need any net. So the row you see here, we're going to do some carrots. So it'll be 2 double rows. I'll do half the row. And then the rest of the row is going to be a few more onions. I know it looks like we've got a lot of onions, but Julie does get through a lot of onions cooking. And obviously we do pickle an awful lot as well. So I'm going to do the carrots, but also we're going to do some salad as well. Now again, from experience, salads, doesn't matter what salad crop it is, do not like the baking hot sun. I don't know if this net is going to give enough shade, to be honest. I'm going to give it a try, but we are going to put the white netting on first to keep the bugs out, and then after that we're going to put the black netting over. So I've got some lettuce I'm going to plant out. I've got radish, so I'm going to do a row of radish, a row of perpetual spinach. Then I'm going to plant a bit of lettuce out. The rest of it we'll leave, and then in another couple of weeks time I'll repeat that, so we've got a succession of salad crops. It's just a board, piece of wood, whatever. This bed actually is 4 feet wide. This was the wider bed. I did it 4 feet just to match up with the rhubarb patch behind us. So I'll start off with a row of radish, I think. So this, I mean, I did dig this over a little bit very, very early, or loosen the surface, but I'm not going to do it again. It might seem a bit hard, but it's fine. So we're just going to take out a little, tiny little trench, drill, whatever you want to call it. With the onion hoe. I like the onion hoe for this job. Makes a nice little trench. Then we're going to do something which a lot of people want to see before. We're going to actually flood the drill. So the reason I do this is typically you would sow, cover the drill up, and then you would get the watering can and soak where you've just sown. Two things that happen. One particularly is you form a pan. As the water dries out and the soil dries out, it forms a pan on the surface.
That just means a hard crust.
Yeah, a hard crust on the surface. And some seed will struggle to get through that. By doing this, I'm deep watering it. So it's 3 times. It's going to give this another soak, let it disappear, run out the end. Then we're just going to sow as normal. So this is radish French breakfast. It's the one that we always use. Tried different ones, but we both prefer this one. And again, I'm not too fussy about spacing, and I don't thin. I don't thin these guys at all. Whatever we end up with, we end up with. So we'll end up with some big ones, we'll end up with some small ones. And there's no need to be fussy about it. Take the board away, and then all I'm going to do is just, with my hands, cover them up. Little pat. Now if you come back in a couple of hours time, you'll see a wet line obviously, well, you can see it there and there a little bit. That'll stay like that till they germinate quite easily. They don't need any more watering. All the water is underneath. So they will, like I say, radish, week, 10 days, they'll be up. Yep.
Are you going to put a label in so you know where they are?
No. No, I don't. If I don't know what a radish seedling looks like by now, I really ought to pack this in, you know.
Okay, but other people might like to.
Yeah, well, if you want to put a label in, put a label in. That's definitely not a problem.
Just then you know when it's coming up that it's actual vegetable seed and not weeds.
But we're in the vegetable garden. I don't plant flower. I'm going to plant marigolds. Okay, so that's the row of radish. And then we're going to give that about a 10. What have we got here? My span is 8, 9, 10. We're about 12 inches between the row. So we'll pull another drill through. And then once these guys germinate and I see exactly where the line is, I will top dress with a little bit of grass clippings, not too heavy. It helps keep the moisture in and it helps keep the weeds down.
but I will wait until they germinate so I know exactly where the row is. Let that soak in. Give it another soaking. This I was shown by an old Victorian gardener.
You knew him personally?
No, I didn't know him personally. I'm not that old.
Just seems like it sometimes.
Yeah, ha, ha. Right. Perpetual spinach. Julie uses it an awful lot in the kitchen. And in actual fact, I don't mind it myself. The spinach is a big seed. I don't know if anybody wants to have a look, but it's a bit like beetroot looks very similar seed-wise, but this is a big seed. And again with these, just drop them in. Don't worry about how far apart because they're perpetual spinach. So you're going to cut and you're going to keep cutting until it gets to the point where you can't get any more from them. So it looks a lot, but not everything is going to germinate. It never does. Well, when you think it's not going to, it does. So that's the spinach. Get that out of the way. Just lightly cover it. Little pat down just to get a bit of contact with the seed, and that's it.
And like you say, you can just about see that.
You can see a wet level. You can see that wet line coming through there now already.
Yeah.
So now, and the other advantage with doing this, I'm not watering all of this in between the rows. So I'm not encouraging the weeds to grow in here. Like I said, I've done this now for many, many years, and honestly, it is the best way. So if Julie just pans down a little bit, you can actually see the two lines where the water's coming through. Just to make her happy, I got a label here. So I put a label in right there so she can see where the row is.
I'm ecstatic now.
Yeah, I know. So now what we're going to do is, we're not going to film it. We're going to pull the white insect screen over. And I'm going to put another, I was going to sow something. Oh, I'm thinking I'm going to sow some courgettes in here as well. We do suffer from cucumber beetle. And the cucumber beetle will also attack your courgettes. So I'm going to sow probably 3 in here, but I'll sow them down the other end, which will mean then gives me space to carry on and do a succession of other salad. And as I say, I'm going to plant some lettuce, going to give them a try and see what happens. But we'll put the insect screen over, and then I'm going to put the black net on. We'll see that they look. I mean, I'll soon know. And if they're still suffering from heat stress, at that point, I'm going to, I'll put another layer of the shade cloth on, and we'll see how that works. And obviously with anything we're planting out at this time of year, it's really quite warm today. It needs a really good soak, but I won't put the lettuce out until this evening. It'll cool off a little bit by then.